Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, and welcome everyone to this session, which is the Africa regional session of our Global Ops Congress on the theme of boosting access to water and sanitation service in Africa through peer-to-peer learning partnerships of operators. My name is Lars Stordal, and on behalf of the Congress host, GWOPA, I'm happy to send greetings from the UN campus in Bonn. Just before we start the session, I will go quickly through some technical aspects. Please join the participants chat on your right-hand side. If you are joining for the first time, please sign in using either an email address or a social media account. We offer simultaneous interpretation in this session in English, French, Spanish, and Portuguese. If you choose to listen to the session in one of these languages, please lower the volume of the main screen. If for some reason the interpretation does not work, we advise you to close the page, refresh, and re-enter. Finally, I would just like to encourage you to also complete our session feedback survey at the bottom of the session page. This will help us. This will give us very valuable feedback as we continue to improve the way we do our events. On that note, just to also thank the co-organizers of this session, the African Water Association, for their close partnership and strong support to WOPS. And I would like to hand over the floor to Professor Kassan of Rand Water to moderate the session. Over to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lars. Thank you indeed. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Delighted to be part of the session. It's an Africa regional event. We have an exciting session lined up. I'm sitting in Johannesburg. My colleagues are sitting throughout the African continent. The session will be undertaken in the following way. We will have a moderator who I will introduce shortly, who will facilitate 3 presentations. Thereafter, we will have a panel discussion looking at some of the experiences that we have in the continent on the issue of WOPS. Excuse me. So it's my pleasure to introduce you to your first moderator today, who is Dr. Rose Kahwa, who is from NWSC, the National Water and Sanitation Company in Uganda. And she will introduce each of the 3 speakers. After the presentations, we will have a Q&A session. And thereafter, I will introduce the other moderator who will manage a panel discussion to look at and review our progress and challenges and look at how we can improve towards increasing access to water and sanitation, particularly through peer-to-peer partnerships, working in partnership with a great partner, GWOPA UN Habitat. I wish you a great session, and I'd like to call Rose. Please, if you can exercise the moderation.
Thank you very much, Professor Hammonth, and greetings to all who have joined this session. We have an exciting lineup where we are going to look at 3 case studies from the African continent on the lessons learned and challenges in implementation of the peer-to-peer learning partnerships in sanitation in Africa. We will start with the first case study that will look at what has been done in Yaoundé, Cameroon. And I would like to introduce Mrs. Sandra Kayap to make her presentation. Sandra, you have 10 minutes. Thank you.
Ok. Bonjour à tout le monde. Je suis Sandrine Kayap, chargée de projet à la communauté urbaine de Yaoundé. J'ai notamment participé à la mise en œuvre du projet RASOP Africa.
Sandra, are you on?
Yes, I'm on. Don't hear me? Are you hear me? Hello, Rose?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
OK. Je vais vous présenter le cas de la ville de Yaoundé relativement
Yes, we can
au
hear you.
partenariat. Relativement au partenariat dans la mise en œuvre des bouts de vidange. Nous aurons en sommaire un contexte qui va à peu près rappeler l'historique et nous aurons également les données de la ville de Yaoundé, la problématique de la gestion des bouts de vidange avant 2016 parce que c'est la date d'adhésion de la ville de Yaoundé à l'AAE. En quatrième point, nous aurons la performance de la ville de Yaoundé depuis cette adhésion. Nous aurons également des leçons apprises, les perspectives et les défis, et nous aurons également une conclusion. En termes de contexte, la ville de Yaoundé adhère à l'Association africaine de l'eau en 2016. Il faut dire qu'avant 2016, la ville disposait déjà d'un schéma directeur d'assainissement des eaux usées qui recommandait d'évoluer progressivement vers un assainissement collectif dominant. Mais sa tranche prioritaire en termes d'investissement était très chère, n'était pas abordable. Il faut dire quand même que la ville de Yaoundé bénéficiait déjà de certains atouts. On dispose environ 76% des ouvrages domestiques qui sont améliorés et financés par les ménages eux-mêmes. On n'a presque pas de défécation à l'air libre. Et concernant le maillon collecte et transport, nous avons des opérateurs de vidange qui se sont organisés malgré les difficultés à tenir ce maillon. Et à l'époque, nous n'avions pas de station de traitement. Nous avons un dépotoir sauvage reconnu qui était utilisé par ces opérateurs-là. Donc, dès que, en 2016, nous entrons l'AE et nous bénéficions du programme Rise Up Africa, financé par la Fondation Bill et Melinda Gates à travers l'AE, qui nous permet ainsi de nous mettre en relation avec l'ONAS du Sénégal et les opérateurs de vidange du Cameroun à ceux de Dakar. Sur le plan des données de base, on va dire que la ville de Yaoundé, c'est la capitale politique du Cameroun. Elle compte environ 3,2 millions d'habitants. Le territoire est subdivisé en 7 communes d'arrondissement, avec la communauté urbaine qui chapeaute les 7 communes d'arrondissement. On a un assainissement autonome dominant à 95%. Et on rencontre également quelques réseaux d'assainissement au centre-ville et 12 stations d'épuration construites par l'État, mais sans entretien. La ville collecte à ce jour près de 300 mètres cubes jour de boue par des camions vétustes. Sur le plan institutionnel, l'État joue le rôle de régulateur et transmet des subventions ponctuelles à la communauté urbaine, qui est en fait l'institution qui doit gérer les bouts de vidange et l'assainissement. Donc, elle a pour rôle de construire les stations, gérer le maillon, la filière, entretenir les infrastructures et gérer également la police en relation avec les communes d'arrondissement. Sur le maillon collecte, nous avons l'association des vidangeurs qui est composée des opérateurs de vidange qui achètent des camions et qui financent le dépotage grâce aux ressources provenant des ménages qui investissent dans la construction des toilettes et la vidange. Sur le plan réglementaire, le Cameroun dispose d'une loi cadre sur la protection de l'environnement depuis 1996 et depuis 1998, une loi portant régime de l'eau. On n'en trouve pas de corpus réglementaire spécifique à l'assainissement et à la gestion des bouts de vidange. Comme je vous le disais, la problématique avant 2016 était celle que vous voyez en image. Nous disposions d'un plan directeur d'assainissement qui demandait d'évoluer vers un assainissement collectif dominant, mais les frais d'investissement étaient tellement important que cette tranche était financièrement non abordable. Il n'y avait pas d'animation et de concertation entre les acteurs de la filière. Il y avait également une faiblesse dans la collecte des données de suivi de la filière et nous n'en disposions pas de stations de traitement des boues de vidange, ce qui avait pour conséquence les dépotages sauvages. La ville était exposée à des risques sanitaires et environnementaux importants et également le coût de la vidange était assez élevé. Quand nous sommes entrés dans le programme RASOP Africa, nous avons donc élaboré ce qu'on a appelé un plan stratégique de l'assainissement autonome qui nous a permis d'avoir l'ensemble des investissements nécessaires à mettre en œuvre le long de la chaîne de valeur. Nous avons eu des formations, nous avons fait des visites de benchmarking dans différents pays comme Dakar, Durban, Sénégal, et nous avons également pu initier le dialogue avec les autres opérateurs de la filière et les acteurs de la chaîne des boues de vidange. Ça, c'était entre 2016 et 2018. Grâce à notre renforcement de capacité, nous avons pu engranger des financements pour la mise en œuvre du projet de structuration de la filière des boues de vidange qui a été financé par l'AIMF, l'Agence de l'eau Seine-Normandie, le syndicat interdépartemental d'assainissement de l'agglomération parisienne et l'Agence française de développement. Ce projet de structuration de la filière des boues de vidange nous a permis de conforter une stratégie municipale d'assainissement autonome, de prendre un arrêté municipal sur le plan de la ville en matière de gestion des boues de vidange et qui a également institué la licence et l'agrément pour les opérateurs de vidange. Nous avons pu construire la première station de traitement des boues de vidange dans la ville de Yaoundé d'une capacité d'environ 265 mètres cubes jour. Nous avons accompagné les opérateurs de vidange dans le renouvellement de leur parc en mettant à leur disposition certaines garanties. Nous avons également mis en place un dispositif de suivi des activités des camions de la ville de Yaoundé. Pour mémoire, nous en avons 35 camions, actuellement 11 en panne, mais les 24 présents disposent d'un GPS qui permet de suivre les itinéraires et les performances de chaque camion. Ce projet également nous a permis d'expérimenter la construction de 2 toilettes innovantes avec récupération de biogaz. Comme leçon apprise de cette expérience de la ville de Yaoundé, nous avons vu l'utilité des échanges et l'accompagnement avec les autres acteurs d'autres pays et les assistances techniques. Et l'autre leçon apprise, c'est la nécessité de développer progressivement la filière pour pouvoir préserver les acquis. Et autre leçon apprise, il est nécessaire d'avoir au sein de la municipalité des services qui montent progressivement en capacité pour suivre les avancées de la filière de gestion des boues de vidange, ainsi que maintenir le dialogue et la relation de confiance entre les différents partenaires. Comme perspective, c'est l'optimisation des outils mis en place, notamment le suivi des toilettes avec M-Water, les GPS, l'activité des camions, les infrastructures construites et le dialogue avec les opérateurs de vidange. D'autres perspectives, c'est le suivi de la filière par les services municipaux, la réalisation d'autres études de faisabilité pour la construction d'autres stations et la recherche de financement pour la construction de ces stations en cas de nouvelles stations en cas de dépassement des capacités actuelles de la station qui vient d'être construite. Comme défi qui reste, c'est le coût élevé de la vidange qui est aujourd'hui à 80 000 francs par tour, ce qui ne favorise pas l'accès de tout ménage. Nous avons également la prise en compte des plus pauvres qui n'est pas encore effectif et également le financement, comme je disais, de la construction d'autres toilettes, d'autres stations de traitement des boues de vidange. Un autre défi, c'est la gestion des boues industrielles, vu que les opérateurs actuels vidangent également dans des industries. Donc, ça reste un défi pour nous. En termes organisationnels, le défi également, c'est la capacité de la communauté urbaine à monter en compétence pour suivre l'ensemble des activités liées à l'assainissement et spécifiquement à la gestion des boues de vidange. La réussite de la première station de traitement des boues de vidange qui vient d'être mise en service, ça fait 2 mois, et le maintien de la communication avec les différentes parties prenantes. En conclusion, je dirais que la situation de l'assainissement dans la ville de Yaoundé reste perfectible au regard des critères de l'ODD 6 et des principes du Seawise. Le projet de structuration de la filière des boues de vidange a offert à la communauté urbaine de Yaoundé et à la ville de Yaoundé de mettre en place les bases de la structuration de la filière après l'Orazop africain. Mais il reste et demeure la capacité de mobilisation des ressources pour préserver tous ces acquis. Nous avons là quelques photos de la station de traitement des boues de vidange qui vient d'être construite dans le cadre du projet de structuration de la filière des boues de vidange et également un snapshot, un photoscreen des positions des différents camions en activité dans la ville de Yaoundé. Je vous remercie pour votre aimable attention.
Thank you very much, Sandrine Kayap, for highlighting the case study in French. Unfortunately, I have not been able to get the translation, but I'd like to now invite Mr. Charles Botti, the sanitation project officer for AFWA WOP OFID project, to highlight the challenges and lessons learned from Blantyre and Sodo Waleta in Ethiopia. Charles, you're welcome.
Merci, Charles Gauthier. Je vais présenter 2 cas d'études dans le cadre de la mise en œuvre du projet Work Office facilité par l'AE, surtout en période de crise sanitaire. Donc, je présente. Please, Lars, please, can you share my presentation? Hello? Hello? Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you, Charles.
But I can't share my screen. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, it's done. Thank you. Voilà, donc je disais que nous allons présenter 2 cas d'études dans le cadre de la mise en œuvre de 2 WOP facilités par l'AE en période de crise sanitaire. Donc, au programme, nous allons d'abord passer en revue le progrès général du WOP qui a été vraiment bousculé par la crise. Et ensuite, nous allons présenter notre premier cas d'étude sur l'eau non facturée, pour ce qui concerne Blantyre Waterboard du Malawi. Et ensuite, le deuxième cas d'étude, nous allons parler de l'expansion des services d'approvisionnement en eau au bénéfice des ménages pauvres dans le cas du WOP de Sodo en Éthiopie. Next, please. Donc, pour ce qui concerne le WOP, le progrès général du WOP, next. Le projet est composé de 2 WOP sous financement de OFID, UN Habitat avec le soutien technique de GIOPA. Donc, ce WOP implique comme mentor Etequini Water and Sanitation, c'est la branche de la municipalité d'Etequini, et 2 bénéficiaires sont concernés par ce projet. Il s'agit de Blantyre Water Board du Malawi et du Wolaita Sodo Water Supply and Sewage Service Enterprise de la ville de Sodo en Éthiopie. Next. Next, please. L'objectif principal de ce WOP est d'aider les sociétés, les deux sociétés bénéficiaires à atteindre les objectifs du développement durable grâce à la mise en œuvre des plans d'action à court terme. Spécifiquement, ce projet s'est accentué sur deux objectifs. D'abord, de développer les plans d'action à court terme et à moyen terme, et ensuite de mettre en œuvre les plans d'action à court terme. Next. Globalement, la méthodologie adoptée pour ce WOP n'est pas différente de la méthodologie usuelle qu'on utilise pour la mise en œuvre des WOP qui commence généralement par des visites benchmarking des bénéficiaires sur le mentor. Ensuite, par une visite diagnostique du mentor sur chacun des bénéficiaires pour pouvoir identifier les différents challenges des sociétés menties. Ensuite, des séances de formation, des formations thématiques et aussi des formations pratiques des bénéficiaires. Ensuite, la mise en œuvre des plans d'action qui ont été développés lors des missions diagnostiques. Et ensuite, le développement d'un projet pilote qui ensuite sera mis en œuvre. Et enfin, le développement d'un plan d'action des performances. Next, please. Next. La mise en œuvre de notre projet, du projet Work Profit, a démarré en 2019, en mi-2019. Donc, 3 activités majeures ont été effectuées sur le terrain. Voilà, il s'agit de visites de benchmarking, des visites diagnostiques qui ont été effectuées sur le terrain. Quand nous avons entamé l'année 2020, certaines activités ont été reportées compte tenu de la difficulté de voyager, la difficulté de mettre en œuvre les activités sur le terrain, étant donné que la plupart des activités du WOP sont des activités de contact entre le mentor et les différents bénéficiaires. Mais bien avant cette période, les visites diagnostiques ont permis d'identifier des faiblesses des bénéficiaires, et auxquelles de ces faiblesses-là, nous avons identifié 3 défis majeurs qui devront être relevés. Donc, il s'agit pour Wolaita Sodo, d'abord pour Blantyre Water Board, de l'eau non facturée, le service client et ensuite la facturation et le recouvrement. Et pour la société d'eau de l'Éthiopie, de Wolaita Sodo, il s'agit aussi de l'eau non facturée, de l'exploitation et la maintenance et de l'expansion de services d'approvisionnement en eau potable aux ménages les plus démunis. Next. Donc, face à la situation de la pandémie du COVID-19 en 2020, qui, je disais, avait empêché les déplacements et rendant véritablement les actions sur le terrain impossibles, nous avons essayé d'adapter l'Europe en modifiant nos stratégies de communication et aussi la stratégie de mise en œuvre de certaines activités. Nous sommes passés de certaines activités, nous avons adopté la mise en œuvre des activités en ligne. Donc, ce qui nous a permis déjà de poursuivre avec des activités de formation qui se sont très, très bien déroulées, qui nous ont permis de ne pas sentir l'effet vraiment de la COVID sur l'avancée de notre projet. Next. Donc, en 2021, nous avons repris les activités sur le terrain. En 2021, donc en février 2021, nous avons commencé la mise en œuvre d'une activité de formation sur l'élaboration de projets pilotes. Nous avons effectué cette activité en ligne et cette activité nous a permis de développer 2 projets pilotes par Menti. Ensuite, de lancer des appels d'offres dans le cadre du financement de ce projet pilote-là qui est une partie intégrale de la mise en œuvre du WOP. Et le mois passé, en septembre, nous avons commencé l'étape de la sélection des différents fournisseurs pour équiper les différents bénéficiaires de ce WOP. Ensuite, dans le même mois de septembre, nous avons tenu une formation thématique sur les 3 défis majeurs que nous avons identifiés au préalable sur chaque métier. Donc, cette formation a été déroulée en ligne et à la fois en ligne et sur place. Maintenant, étant donné que le mentor sud-africain a toujours des difficultés pour se déplacer, nous avons fait appel à l'expertise d'une autre société qui intervient déjà comme mentor dans certains WOP facilités par l'AE. Donc, ce qui nous a permis de pouvoir réaliser cette activité qui a été vraiment d'un grand succès. Next. Next, please. Donc, en résumé, nous notons un total sur 7 activités majeures de ce WOP. Nous notons qu'au jour d'aujourd'hui, nous sommes à 5 activités qui ont été réalisées pour 72% en termes de taux d'achèvement de notre WOP. Il nous reste 2 activités, notamment une activité de formation et une activité d'élaboration des plans d'action à long terme. Au niveau des projets pilotes, les équipements sont en cours. Nous sommes toujours en phase de sélection des fournisseurs pour équiper les différents bénéficiaires. Next. Next. Donc, les deux cas d'études que nous allons présenter maintenant, il s'agit toujours de la mise en œuvre des plans d'action. Dans l'élaboration de la mise en œuvre des plans d'action, il y a des thématiques clés qui ont été identifiées sur chaque bénéficiaire. Donc, nous avons souligné 2 thématiques qui feront l'objet de cette présentation. Au niveau du Blantyre Waterboard, il s'agit de la réduction de l'eau non facturée. Au niveau de Wolaita Sodo d'Éthiopie, il s'agit de la fourniture de l'eau potable aux ménages les plus démunis. Donc, le premier cas d'étude sera le cas de Blantyre Waterboard. Next. Next. L'objectif pour ce point-là, pour la réduction de l'eau non facturée, est de conduire la balance hydraulique au niveau de chaque zone de distribution, donc au niveau de chaque DME. Et ensuite, de réduire les pertes physiques et commerciales. Et enfin, d'améliorer le temps de réponse face aux pannes et aux plaintes des clients. Next. Pour les activités réalisées par rapport à la balance hydraulique, nous notons que 76 zones de distribution des balances hydrauliques ont été effectuées au niveau de 76 DME et 8 compteurs de production ont été installés dans différentes zones. 1859 compteurs défectueux ont été remplacés. 128 nouveaux compteurs ont été installés et sont en cours d'utilisation. Next. La société a recruté également des plombiers et des manœuvres supplémentaires afin de réduire les temps de réponse aux pannes et aussi d'aider à la réduction de l'eau non facturée au niveau de chaque DME. Donc, quand nous avons commencé le projet, le niveau de l'eau non facturée moyen à Blantyre Waterboard se situait autour de 39% sur l'ensemble des DME. Donc, grâce à ce projet-là, au total 45 DME, les balances hydrauliques élaborées au niveau de 45 DME sont aujourd'hui en dessous de 30%. Et la société, avec le méthode continue d'appuyer Blantyre Waterboard pour pouvoir réduire au maximum l'ensemble des DME pour que l'eau non facturée soit à moins de 30%, qui est l'objectif que nous sommes fixés par rapport à ce projet. Next. Au niveau des pertes, de la réduction des pertes physiques, 58 km de conduite ont été remplacés à ce jour et des exercices de détection de fuite ont été effectués dans 6 DME. Voilà, et des fuites souterraines aussi ont été décelées et corrigées. La cartographie et la numérisation du réseau de canalisation des compteurs sont aussi en cours. Next. Donc, ici également, Blantyre Waterboard a mis en place également un centre d'appel pour faciliter la surveillance et améliorer aussi la réactivité face aux plaintes des clients. Next. En plus de ces activités qui ont été mises en œuvre, il y a le projet pilote également qui sera implémenté et qui va toucher 34 DME où la réduction de l'eau non facturée sera également en dessous de 30%. Next. Next, nous allons aborder maintenant le deuxième cas d'étude. Next, please. Nous allons aborder le deuxième cas d'étude qui est l'expansion des services de fourniture d'eau aux ménages les plus démunis à Sodo. Next. L'objectif a été de cartographier les ménages pauvres de la ville. Donc, au début du projet, les ménages pauvres n'avaient pas encore été identifiés. Donc, nous avons cartographié les ménages pauvres de la ville. Ensuite, de connecter gratuitement ces ménages pauvres-là au réseau d'eau potable et de fournir également des infrastructures sanitaires à ces ménages pauvres. Next. Donc, au total, 3015 ménages pauvres ont été identifiés. Next. Et une base de données des ménages pauvres est en cours d'élaboration. Next. Donc, sur ces 3015 ménages des ménages pauvres qui ont été identifiés, 450 ont été approvisionnés en eau potable, ce qui fait une population de 2706 personnes qui ont bénéficié de ce service. Également, 4 km de canalisation ont été réalisés, qui a bénéficié à 254 nouveaux ménages qui ont été raccordés au réseau d'eau potable de la ville. Next. Donc, quand nous capitalisons le nombre total de ménages qui ont bénéficié du raccordement en eau potable s'élève à 705 ménages. Donc, dans les 705 ménages, il y a 451 ménages très pauvres qui ont bénéficié de ce service gratuitement et 250 ménages à revenus faibles qui ont également bénéficié. Next.
Charles, please wind up.
OK. Donc, en plus de cette action, 6 toilettes publiques sont en phase de construction au bénéfice toujours des ménages pauvres. Next. Next. Des tournées de sensibilisation également ont été faites auprès des ménages pour leur permettre de bien utiliser l'eau qu'ils ont reçue en termes d'économie. Et des séances de sensibilisation seront également en cours après la phase de construction des toilettes publiques. Next. Donc, en plus de ces actions réalisées, il y a également le projet pilote qui va étendre les réalisations au niveau de l'expansion des ménages pauvres à l'accès à l'eau potable. Donc, le projet va augmenter ce nombre-là à 15% de ménages pauvres qui bénéficieront d'un accès à l'eau potable. Et ce projet pilote aura 2 objectifs qui sont de réduire l'eau non facturée de 30 à 20% et de connecter 100 ménages pauvres de la ville. Next. Next. Sur ce, voilà, je vous remercie de votre attention.
Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you very much, Charles. I would like to now introduce Dr. Ambaye, who is going to give us some of the highlights under the Sanitation Operators Partnerships going forward from the Reinforcing African Sanitation Operators on the non-SWAT sanitation through the peer-to-peer learning partnerships. And the citywide inclusive sanitation in Africa, Dr. Ambaye is the Senior Sanitation Program Coordinator of AFWA, seated in Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. Dr. Ambaye, you have 10 minutes, and following your presentation, I will ask Simeon to actually take over the Q&A, since I could not get the translation in French. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Dr. Rose. Thanks a lot for the opportunity offered to make the presentation on AFWA experience on Sanitation Operator Partnership. Next slide. Allow me briefly to present AFWA for those who don't know very well our organization. African Water Association is a capacity building organization for water and sanitation stakeholders in Africa. It is a 40-year-old organization who aim to put together all the water sector stakeholders, including utilities, municipalities, regulators, water equipment, vendors, academia, and so on and so forth. Before 2010, the main activities of AFWA was focused on masterclass and organization of events such as STC, Scientific Technical Congress, and Congress. And since 2010, through the Water Operator Partnership for Africa, AFWA expanded its activities in supporting many African countries through this Water Operator Partnership. Next slide. Next slide. In 26, the Hashimoto Action Plan, developed by the UN Secretary General Advisory Board on Water and Sanitation, labeled the WOP approach and recommended to scale up at global level with the support of GEOPA. In 2009, WOP Africa established with the joint support of GEOPA, of the WSP of the World Bank, and IWA as a sub-program of AFWA. In 2015, we made an evaluation related to the work we already conducted, and we realized that out of the 17 partnership implemented, only 4 were focused on sanitation. This is where start our interest on sanitation related to the peer-to-peer partnership. And in 2016, thanks to the Gate Foundation, we got a first grant supporting the implementation of the RASA program, which is the first sanitation operator partnership already developed in Africa. Next slide. Sanitation work in AFWA sit within the direction of program where other important thematic or areas are targeted. We conduct important project and program in the water sector, such as non-revenue water issues, water quality, and most of this work developed so far by AFWA focus on this thematic. We have also a training program through the African Water Academy implemented by AFWA in Uganda, whose objective is to develop massive training program for African water professionals. In the sanitation sector, I just want to highlight 2 important projects developed by AFWA, the RASA Africa project targeting 5 countries, and the South-Wise program implemented in more than 50 cities. These 2 programs will be the focus of this presentation. Next slide. As explained in the introduction, RASA Africa is the first peer-to-peer partnership developed by AFWA in the field of sanitation. The goal was to improve urban fecal sludge management and non-sewer sanitation service quality and coverage for at least 1 million people in the sub-Saharan African region. The partnership developed throughout this project involved 2 mentors, ONAS from Senegal and Itigwini municipality from South Africa, and 5 mentees. And ONAS was coaching the Francophone mentees such as Anja Selm from Mali with the Mali Sanitation Utility, ONAT from Cote d'Ivoire, and Yaoundé municipality from Cameroon, whilst Itigwini was matched with Lusaka Water from Zambia and Kasisi A from Uganda. After the launching workshop organized in each of these beneficiary cities, a baseline study was conducted before the implementation of the various steps of the water operator partnership methodologies, such as benchmarking visit in Dakar and Durban. We organized audit and PIP development, performance improvement plan development. We developed a SUSAP for each of these cities, and we work on fundraising for implementation. Next slide. Thanks to this RASA Africa partnership, interesting findings were obtained. 715 stakeholders of the 5 beneficiary cities, countries I can say, and the mentors trained on non-sewer sanitation and on fecal sludge management. 75 sanitation stakeholders learned best practice through benchmarking mission at ONAS, in Dakar at ONAS, and in Durban with Itigwini municipality. We arrived also to develop 5 strategic urban sanitation plans, the SUSAP I talk about, centered on on-site sanitation system elaborated, and some bankable projects were identified. 5 small sanitation provider operators association established and empowered. We arrived also to organize 2 mayor forums dedicated to sanitation during the 19th AFWA Bamako Congress and during the Fecal Sludge Africa Sun 5 conference in Cape Town. And a good achievement was also the creation of the Pan-African Association of MTS, so-called PASA. The advocacy made during the implementation of this project ended up to the involvement of this category of sanitation workers in the urban planning process undertaken in the various countries of focus. Next slide, Charles. These pictures show the SUSAP document developed. As I explained in the beginning, we developed 5 SUSAP in the 5 countries beneficiating of the benefiting of this RASA program. And the photo you have here is the Congress organized by sanitation workers in order to implement the PASA organization. Next slide. What are the lessons we learned from this RASA Africa? The lesson we learned from this Rise of Africa program can be summarized as follows: a real development of an African expertise in non-sewer sanitation, a benchmarking. We realize that benchmarking is cardinal to avoid repeating mistake, and also local capacity building through training and public participation are also important success factors when implementing citywide sanitation. We note also a better awareness of fecal sludge challenged by authorities in the cities or countries where we work, a better recognition of pit emptiers, which is very important because in the beginning we realized that nothing was done to work correctly with this category of actors. The involvement of donors in the outset of the process is critical in order to have a chance to get the SUSAP funded. It is something very important. Authorities' ownership of the process is critical. And finally, peer-to-peer partnership without training package is less efficient. Unless some training are proposed in the work methodology, but it is important to strengthen this package, this training package, in order to ensure that all stakeholders will be on the same page as far as sanitation development is concerned. Next slide. What are the main challenges? The challenge related to the implementation of the RASO program can be described as follows. Challenge persists related to local capacity for implementation of the plan. This is why the training we talk about is something very important. We realize also some many cities, despite the nice plan developed, struggle to secure funding for SUSAP implementation. This is a big issue, and it is important to think also on how to keep up the momentum going on. A development of a framework for continuous monitoring and evaluation for the implementation of the plan is also needed, but sometimes it is also a challenge. Next slide. Following the successful results with the RASO program, AFWA, with the support of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I can say with the renewed support of the BMJF, implemented another partnership far more important and ambitious than the RASO Africa. This program is the strengthening AFWA and operators' capacities for the implementation of citywide inclusive sanitation in Africa, so-called SAU-CIWISE. It is important to note that the main outcome and function of citywide inclusive sanitation are related to equity in service delivery, safety for actors, mainly customers and workers, sustainability in terms of service continuity, responsibility, accountability, and resource planning and management are key functions to be considered. Next slide. Quickly, SAU-CIWISE in some figures and some numbers. 10 million people in 52 cities in sub-Saharan Africa have access to adequate and sustainable sanitation. This is one of our aim. 14 countries and 50 cities involved. 30 cities funded throughout the BNGF support, and 20 cities involved thanks to USAID accompaniment. The partners are various, many partners, and also a total budget of $5,400,000 US in the period of from 20 to 23 will be expended for this project. Next slide. The main component of the SAU-CIWISE program are as follows. The first one is to improve AFWA organizational effectiveness to undertake its mission and vision in Africa. The second one is to improve the capacity of 500 African sanitation stakeholders from 52 cities on citywide inclusive sanitation. The third is to adopt innovative approaches and technologies in 10 African cities for implementation of CIWISE. The fourth is improve the CIWISE enabling environment in 52 African cities through advocacy and communication. And finally, last but not the least, is the fifth component related to the empowerment of the leadership of 400 African women professionals in the water sector. Gender take a good perspective in this SAU-CIWISE program. Next slide. In this map, you have the 14 countries involved in the SAU-CIWISE and the 52 cities involved. Next slide, please. What are the implementing strategy we use for the SAU-CIWISE? Based on the big number of countries and cities involved, you realize with the RASA program, we will focus only with 5 countries, but with this SAU-CIWISE program, talking about 14 countries and 52 cities, ask us to develop a specific methodology in order to be efficient in each of these cities. This is why AFOA decided to delegate through signed memorandum of understanding the implementation of the project to what we call regional implementing partners in each of the 4 African regions: West Africa, Central Africa, Eastern Africa, and Southern Africa. In West Africa, we have SEMO. SEMO is the ONEA. ONEA is the Burkina Faso Water and Sanitation Utility, the ONEA Training Center from Burkina. For Central Africa, our regional implementing partners is ERA Cameroon. For Eastern Africa, we work with National Water from Uganda, where Dr. Rose comes from. In Southern Africa, we work also with eThekwini Municipality and the University of KwaZulu-Natal for the implementation of the program in this region. These reps will work closely with the AFOA African Water Academy for the implementation of training and will take care of the implementation of the various partnership plan in the region. Next slide. And the overall coordination of the program will be done by AFOA from Abidjan, from the headquarters from Abidjan. Next slide. Based on the various experience gathered from our work in water and from Radom Africa, the peer-to-peer partnership methodology proposed by AFOA and that will be used for the South Seawise project will be composed of 7 steps. The first one is training content development. What lesson we learn is training is capital in the development of the peer-to-peer partnership. After, when we complete to develop the training content, we'll develop another step related to the training of trainers. We hire more than 42 African experts in dealing with this training in countries. After that, we'll develop a benchmarking visit. The 4th step will be a city stakeholders training. The trainers we already trained will conduct mass training at the country and city level. After that, we'll conduct audit and the development of the performance improvement plan before we work with the city stakeholder in developing a SUSAP, Sustainable Urban Sanitation Plan, and working with them to see how we can implement this plan. And finally, it is important also to dare to think deeply with the monitoring and evaluation process in order to see which impact we have in the city. AFOA, through this project, as Razok and South Seawise, demonstrate its leadership in knowledge sharing between utilities and is becoming a platform that can be used for promoting a shift away from sanitation business as usual and for enabling a rapid replication of city-level best practice in citywide inclusive sanitation. Thank you for your listening. And over to you, Dr. Rose.
Donc c'est ça, je vais envoyer à monsieur ça. Ok.
Dr. Rose?
Ok, ça c'est bon. Bon, donc j'en ai.
Dr. Rose, do you hear me?
Ok, donc c'est bon. Alors, donc la préoccupation dans mon mail, c'est bon. J'ai compris. Maintenant, la deuxième chose, c'est la mission par rapport à la
We lost Dr. Rose.
And can Mr. Jagun close his microphone? Mr. Jagun close his microphone.
Mr. is asking to close your mouth.
Hello?
Close
As
your
we
mic.
lost Dr. Rose, Chair.
Yes, I'm here.
If you can
I'm
hand
here.
over.
I'm here. I think that Rose has got challenges there with the connection and also the translation. So could I request then, Simeon, could I request you take over Rose's role for the question and answer session, please?
Thank you, Chair. So now that we listen to Madam Kayap from Yaoundé, Charles from Abidjan, and Dr. Mbai, if there are questions, please, the floor is open for the question. Over. Lars, how does the questions works? Maybe is it from the chat, boss?
Yes, Simeon. So far, there are no questions in the chat box on the public side.
So, can we hand over to the floor? Is it possible to pick questions from the floor?
Yes, it's possible, Simeon. Colleagues would then need to click on the Ask to Join button below the video, and they could enter the speakers room and ask their questions.
So that is where we are. If there are specific questions addressed to any of the presenter, please.
My question, I'm Julian from Kampala.
Yes,
Hello?
Julian. Yes, Julian, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm Julian from. Yes, my question goes to the pre-current speaker, Dr. Mbaye, in terms of sustainability of the program of the RASOP in the different cities that it was implemented, and also what are the future plans in terms of building capacity of our private sector, especially our MTS that we've been supporting in building their capacity and have gone some level now, and would wish to continue to support them. Is there any sustainability plan that is available? And also, you talked about the monitoring aspect. Maybe you could throw some more light on that particular part of monitoring on the RASOP that has been happening in the different countries of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Julian. Any other question? While waiting for other question, Dr. Mbaye, can you give an answer to Julian?
Yeah, thank you, Vivian, for your interesting question. Yeah, in terms of sustainability, I agree with you that it is a very important point, and the objective is not to have.
Please, your microphone, your macro.
Please, let me see. Is it okay?
Yes, it's better now.
Yeah, in terms of sustainability, for Julian, I agree with you that it is something important. And the objective of AFA is not to make some intervention within the project duration and that's it. No, the objective is to conduct, to involve all the city stakeholders, all the decision makers in the process, so that when the project is over, we realize that some continuity happened. I give one example, for instance, the city of Yaoundé, after we finalized the project, we realized that they continue to work on the implementation of the sanitation plan proposed, and this continuity end up to the building with the Francophone mayor of the fecal settlement plant already proposed by the SUSAP. It means that we work on some kind of ownership of the process at the authority level in order to ensure that things fund. What are our future plans regarding building capacity private sector? Within the RASOP, the South-West program is the continuation of the RASOP Africa. And we believe that the private sector, AFWA believe that the private sector is key in the implementation of a good citywide inclusive sanitation. This is why we will work within the South Suez program in training, in strengthening the capacity of this private sector, mainly the sanitation workers, to ensure that in the whole second/sludge or sanitation chain, the stakeholder know what they have to do, what are their role, and how they have to perform better this role. It means training all the stakeholders, mainly the private sector, is something very important for AFWA. For monitoring, during the project, we have a monitoring plan. I explained that in the beginning, we conduct some kind of a baseline study, we conduct some kind of midterm review, and at the end, we conduct a final evaluation in order to understand what are the main impact, the short-term impact of the project in the city. But after that, we will continue to work. We need to develop a plan with the city or the municipality in order to ensure that the plan is implemented. This is why we continue to work with some countries and some cities, like the example I gave, the community of Yaoundé, and then we help them in order to see how they can operate better. The new plan, for instance, they implement. These are things we'll develop, we'll continue to develop. Sanitation is a long process. Our objective as AFWA is to create a momentum at the city level to advocate within the authority in order to create some kind of ownership and to get things moving with our continuous overseeing.
Thank you, Dr. Bai, for the answer. Maybe we could add to that the fact that among the 5 city beneficiaries of RASOP, 3 of them, which include Yaoundé, Kampala, and Lusaka, have been kept in the loop in terms of mentor to other cities. And given that the process of peer-to-peer is a win-win process, we learned from what we did that even the mentor, by supporting the mentee, also learn something. That means they will continue in the loop, being supported by AFWA and continue improving their performance in sanitation service delivery. With this,
Doctor,
other question? Yes.
A question from the chat box. Someone is asking, for the sanitation operator partnership of AFWA, what is its duration?
Okay, so you can answer.
Yeah, maybe we can answer. The duration of the project funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is around 3 years. It doesn't mean the sanitation operator partnership itself will last 3 years, but you realize that before we launch the partnership, we have many preparatory activities like launching the project in the city. But overall, we need 3 years to implement everything. But for sure, it will last less than 3 years in order to get this sanitation operator partnership implemented for the various 7 steps I talk about. But you can consider that for this project funded by the Bill and Melinda Foundation, we have 3 years of implementation. Thank you.
So that is simply to say the sanitation operator partnership, depending on the feasibility, which now is somehow slowed by the limitation of travel. If not, it is only the peer-to-peer part is only 12 months. So there are other questions. How do you plan to expand the implementation of sanitation in other countries? Dr. Mbai, can you answer this one? How do you plan to expand this sanitation process implementation in other countries? You mentioned 14.
It is 14. Right now, we are working in 14 countries, but our ambition is to implement citywide inclusive sanitation in all Africa. This is our objective. These 14 countries, after we work with 5 countries with the RASA program, we expand to 14. Based on the lesson we learned, this is where we realize that a new implementing methodology is needed. And right now, we are able to work in 14 countries, but the objective, after we implement this project and we learn a lesson in implementing this project in this numerous country, the objective is to keep the model and to implement it in other countries. Because AFWA is present in more than 14 countries, we are at least present in 45 countries right now. And the objective is to expand this methodology in all these countries, but we want to go step by step in order to ensure that the implementation will be successful and all these countries will take the most of this project during the implementation. Dr. Kenfa, if you have something to add.
I think that's all. But we can also expand, and that is the second session of this session. That is through collaboration. AFWA itself cannot do all, but through collaboration with other partners, with other donors, with other governmental or non-governmental organizations, they can buy in from this approach and then implement in their own. WaterAid is doing work, maybe UNICEF and other governmental or other organizations of the water sector could also buy in from this to implement their programs. So with this, I think Fatimata, you have a question? If it's the case, vous avez une question, Madame Sarambe? Madame Sarambe, vous êtes en ligne? Vous avez une question?
Oui, j'ai une question.
OK.
Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Ma question s'adresse à Madame Sandrine Kayap. Oui. Alors, je ne sais pas si j'ai bien entendu, mais j'ai cru entendre 0% de défécation à l'air libre à Yaoundé. Alors, j'aimerais savoir quel a été vraiment l'élément ou les éléments déterminants qui ont permis en tout cas l'atteinte de cette performance. Si l'on sait que les questions d'assainissement, ce n'est pas seulement matériel ni méthodologique, encore moins financier, c'est d'abord un problème de culture, de mentalité. Alors, je ne sais vraiment pas ce qui s'est passé réellement là-bas. S'ils peuvent partager un tout petit peu en attendant qu'on se déporte à Yaoundé, parce que cette expérience nous intéresse beaucoup. Merci.
Sandrine?
Oui, Dr. Kefak, j'ai bien suivi la question de Madame Fatima. En fait, dans la ville de Yaoundé, nous sommes autour de 0,6%. 0,6%. Et comme vous-même vous l'avez dit, la défécation à l'air libre, c'est d'abord une histoire culturelle. En Afrique centrale, les peuples d'Afrique centrale, c'est d'abord la dignité. Donc, les populations aiment se mettre à l'aise. Donc, c'est ce que je peux apporter comme réponse. Nous n'avons pas fait une stratégie particulière, c'est une histoire de dignité. Et c'est le ménage lui-même qui finance l'investissement pour sa toilette. On ne va pas dire que tous les ouvrages sont bons. Nous sommes autour de 76% d'ouvrages domestiques améliorés. ça veut dire qu'on a quand même 23% qui sont, entre guillemets, pas ce qu'on attend pour protéger l'environnement, mais la défécation à l'air libre, c'est d'abord culturel. Les populations préfèrent se mettre à l'abri d'abord, et c'est là, quoi. Merci.
Sandrine, je pourrais ajouter à ça la question, les latrines publiques. Et sur ça, est-ce que vous pouvez nous dire un peu qu'est-ce que votre programme fait en termes de construction de latrines publiques?
Oui, en termes de construction de latrines publiques, nous construisons les latrines publiques pour que les populations se soulagent. Et dans le cadre du projet de structuration de la filière des boues de vidange, nous sommes en train d'expérimenter les toilettes publiques à biogaz qui permettraient à la fois de produire du gaz qui sera utilisé comme combustible pour chauffer, pour le chauffage au niveau des marchés, et également pour l'éclairage public. C'est une expérimentation qui est en cours dans le cadre du projet. Merci, Sylvain.
Any other question? And Chair, we attend to you concerning the timing. Hello, Chair. Hello, Prof.
Yes, Simeon. Yes, I'm here. Thank you very
Yes.
much. Share all the members with your presentation. Can I proceed from here, Simeon?
Yes.
All the members that we have undertaken the thank you for your questions, presenters for your answers, and moderator for today. It is Mr. Sylvain Usher, who is the Executive Director of.
Thank you, Prof. Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to moderate the second part of the session. My name is Sylvain Usher. I'm the Executive Director of the African Water Association. And what I will try to do during these 45 minutes left is to discuss with five panelists that we have chosen specifically on what they are doing in the Water Operator Partnership on the WOP or the SOPS, Sanitation Operator Partnership around Africa. These are the various actors of the WOP. And I'm happy to introduce Dr. Mitokozizi Nkube from the African Water African Development Bank, Mr. Pire Ezekia from UN Habitat, dealing with GWOPA, Dr. Simon Fak, the Director of Program of the African Water Association, Mrs. Lungi Zuma from Etiquini, and Mrs. Fatoumata Serambe from ONEA, Burkina Faso. And what you can remark, but the remark that we can do from my presentation of these actors is that we have here a funding institution, which is key for WOP. We also have here WOP coordinators from UN Habitat and from AFWA. AFWA is leading the African platform of WOP. And also we have mentors, two mentors, ONEA from Burkina Faso and Etiquini. So how we will do this panel discussion is that we have three main questions that we will ask the panelists, and they will have each of those panelists to respond to each of those questions. So we'll start first by asking the panelists to present themselves, to present their organization, and also to present what role their organization has been playing so far in the work development in Africa. And I will start first by the African Development Bank and ask Dr. Matukozi Nkube to present himself and to answer the question, what role your organization have been playing while implementing the Water Operator Partnership in Africa. Dr. Nkube, you have the word now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As you've mentioned, my name is Mtokozi Nkube. I'm a principal water and sanitation engineer stationed in Nigeria. Today I'm representing my director, Mr. Oswald Chanda, who could not make it due to so much of business to attend to. But as you've mentioned, the African Development Bank has been in the business for quite a long time. We are a premier development institution, a finance institution which is at the center, which seeks to be at the center of Africa's transformation. So in terms of the water and supply business, we've invested close to over 6.2 billion since 2010. And we currently have an active portfolio of about $4.3 billion of projects, which is around 100 projects in over 40 countries and 6 multinational projects. So we're really in the thick of things when it comes to the water and sanitation business, particularly the investing thereof. So our role within MOPS historically, through our African water facility, which is administered and hosted within the bank, we've previously given a grant of about 490,000 euros that has been received by WOP Africa and the African Water Association, which has really been there to finance the cost of improving access to water and sanitation through this peer-to-peer learning partnership under the Water Operators Partnership Program. But again, as I've mentioned, we work in over 100 projects in a lot of countries within Africa. So we work with utilities on a day-to-day basis, and we've got a lot of lessons learned across the continent that are integral to how we do business. So we carry that business, or we carry that learnings in all the work that we do with the different utilities. So we are kind of a trusted partner or a resource, as it were, in replicating some of the lessons that are learned from one utility one utility from one country to another. Moreover, our utility partners are also encouraged within the work that they do on a day-to-day basis. Like as an example, right now, some of the projects I'm working with in Nigeria, we've got a couple of utilities who are actually maybe not within the formal WOP framework, but to actually go out and seek out lessons from Kenya, from Zambia, from South Africa, and all sorts of countries. So our work on a daily basis involves those peer-to-peer learnings, as it were. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Nkube. Thank you very, very much. And I see that the African Development Bank has given fund to AFWA at the far beginning of the work. And I would like to take the opportunity to thank the African Development Bank for this. Now I will ask Mr. Pire. Pire Ezekia from UN Habitat. You are the main leader of the GWOPA. Please present yourself and give a bright view of what GWOPA is doing in the WOP activities.
Thank you very much, Sylvain. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Hezekiah Pire, as you have mentioned. I am the lead in the wash and sanitation team at UN Habitat. For those of you who have not known what we do at Habitat, we are a UN program that is working towards a better urban future. We are mandated by the UN General Assembly to promote change, transformative change in cities and human settlements. We have a long history of engagement in the WOP movement. in Africa, but also globally. We perceive WOPs as an internationally recognized instrument for realizing the Sustainable Development Goals. In fact, GWOPA, which is the hosting organization behind this Congress, is a program that is administered by UN Habitat. In Africa, we also have a long history of engagement in WOPs. In 2007, we joined a number of partners, such as the Water and Sanitation Program of the World Bank and IWA, to establish WOP Africa. WOP Africa is the regional hub for WOPs in the region, administered by AFWA. So UN Habitat was one of the organizations behind the establishment of this WOP platform. In terms of the WOP development in Africa, UN Habitat through GWOPA has worked together with AFWA and a number of other partners to support the implementation of WOPs. As you heard from the presentation of Charles Botti of AFWA, we were behind, or we are in fact still behind, the development of the two WOPs in Malawi and also in Ethiopia, supported by Etiquini, with support from the OPEC Fund for International Development. So because this has been presented, I will not take a lot of time explaining what we have done, but we are partnering with AFWA to support the development of these two WOPs. Now, in addition, in 2019, we co-convened a number of training programs with AFWA for water and sanitation service providers in Africa on how to plan for, how to monitor, and how to communicate WOP results under the program that we call the Boosting Effectiveness of Water Operators Partnerships, or in short, BWOP initiative. So BWOP is a partnership between IHE Delft and GWOPA that is helping WOPs as an effective approach to improving utilities capacity and performance. In addition, we have two pipeline projects. One is a new project that is going to be funded by UNICEF Ethiopia, where the WOPs approach will be used to strengthen the capacity of new water and sanitation service providers in 3 small towns in Ethiopia. The second project is a project where we are partnering with AFWA in the implementation of a program called Citywide Inclusive Sanitation Project that was also presented by Dr. Mbai. The program is being supported by the Gates Foundation, and under this project, AFWA is supporting the training and capacity building component. I will be discussing a little more detail this second project in response to the next questions. Over to you.
Thank you very much, Peter. Thank you very much. What I retain, what you're saying, is the BWOP initiative. Really, the BWOP initiative is a quite, I think, very important initiative because it takes into consideration how to train trainee, and that's important. It's not easy to do WOPs because WOP, you have to talk to the mentee to the mentor, the mentor to the mentee, but you have to know how to train the mentor, and it's not the career is not the profession of a staff in a water utility. I will look now to Dr. Simon Kenfak, which is my program director. And Dr. Kenfak, please, can you tell us a bit what you've been doing in quick words? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sylvain, and thank to all. My name is already said, and I'm the director of programs at AFWA, but it is also important to mention that I joined AFWA as the WOP Africa program coordinator. That is where I come from. And now, becoming the director of program, it is important to mention that AFWA is the platform, the Africa platforms of WOP, and the mandate of AFWA is to capacity build operators to better perform their duty. And with this, we realize what to do it, and we adopt. And now, with becoming the program director, we develop programs, we assess the challenge of the operators, we develop program through this challenge, and then we include WOPs as one of the methodology to implement these programs, while identifying mentors, mentee, and facilitate these WOPs between the operators. So now, given that the request from operators, and I heard early from one of the operator that we are implementing the sub in 14 countries. What about the other countries? So given that this request is becoming more and more evident, through we structure, we identify some of our strong members in the regions, and we nominate them, we set them as the regional implementing partners, that we are now, as the African-wide platform, we are now enforcing their capacity in facilitating WOPs. And also, we are seeking, and we are continuously seeking, of collaborators who can come with us, that are like the African Development Bank, the UN Habitat, as Pire was saying earlier, and other partners to join the work movement, so to work with us to where this target. Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Thank you very much. Now that we have been talking with the funders, with the coordinators of the Water Operator Partnership or the Sanitation Operator Partnership, let's talk with the mentors, those who are giving some of their time to capacity build the mentees. So we will be talking with Ms. Lungi Zuma from Etiquini Water. Please, Lungi, you have the word.
Thank you very much, Mr. Usha. Good day to all, and thank you for this opportunity. I am Lungi Zuma. I am the Acting Strategic Executive for Research and International Partnerships at eThekwini Water and Sanitation Unit within the city of eThekwini Municipality in Durban, in South Africa. We are as the Water and Sanitation Unit, we are a water service provider within the area of eThekwini, which means we are responsible for the delivery of water and sanitation services to our 3.8 million residents of the municipality. And this includes providing free basic services to those who can't afford to pay. The organization has been involved in water as well as sanitation operators partnerships throughout the years, as detailed in earlier presentations by Dr. Bai as well as Charles. We have been more involved in the Southern African region, and more recently from 2019, our latest peer-to-peer learning partnership has been through being a mentor in the Water Operators Partnership for Blantyre Water Board in Malawi, as well as Sodo Wolaita in Ethiopia. And I am of the view that water operators partnerships are beneficial and required for the development and improvement of access to water and sanitation services to the population of the continent. And as an organization, we are committed to carrying on the role that we have been playing in water and sanitation operators partnerships in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Zuma. And now, Madame Fatoumata Sarambe from ONEA, vous avez la parole pour nous présenter un peu ce que vous faites en tant que mentor. Madame Fatoumata.
Je suis Fatimata Sarambe de l'Office national de l'eau et de l'assainissement du Burkina Faso. L'ONEA, c'est une société d'État qui s'occupe de la production et de la distribution de l'eau potable, mais aussi à qui on a investi la mission d'apporter l'assainissement. Alors, il y a environ 1000 agents à l'ONEA. Et il faut reconnaître que dans les années 90, l'ONEA a traversé une période difficile. Et cette période difficile a quand même amené à vraiment entreprendre des réformes, des innovations pour relever la société. Et du coup, cela a créé vraiment une mise en place d'une expertise qui a valu vraiment l'intérêt des autres sociétés. Donc, pour dire que très tôt déjà, on a commencé à expérimenter les WOP, même si ce n'est pas sous la forme actuelle. Donc, en termes de mentorat, mais aussi pour se maintenir en termes de menti. L'ONEA a accompagné beaucoup de sociétés dans la sous-région, mais aussi a vraiment bénéficié de l'expertise des autres sociétés. Et nous pensons et nous sommes convaincus que la voie des partenariats entre opérateurs est l'un des meilleurs pour en tout cas nous permettre d'accéder à la performance des sociétés d'eau et d'assainissement en Afrique. L'ONEA joue à peu près 3 rôles. Alors, tantôt, l'ONEA est mentor, comme je l'ai dit, qui appuie vraiment les autres sociétés qui viennent vers elle, mais aussi se positionne comme menti. Et chaque année, c'est vraiment des millions que l'ONEA investit pour en tout cas permettre à son personnel d'acquérir les savoir-faire et les expertises des autres sociétés dans la sous-région ou ailleurs. Et avec le programme régional de mise en œuvre, l'AE a vraiment mis confiance en l'ONEA en la désignant en tout cas comme partenaire régional de mise en œuvre, et ça l'amène du coup à porter une autre casquette qui est un peu un rôle de coordination dans la mise en œuvre de certains projets et programmes que l'AE a lancés. Pour le moment, merci.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for the presentation and the word that the panelists have been sharing. What I can retain at the last word of Fatoumata is that mentoring is also capacity building for the mentor, not only for the mentee. And that's quite important and interesting to know. Let's go now to the second set of questions to the various panelists. And what I could say is that in September 2015, the UN adopted the Agenda 2030, which leads to the Sustainable Development Goal, the SDGs, and having the specific target number 6, dealing with water and sanitation, with the aim, contrary to the MDGs, with the aim to ensure universal access to water and sanitation. So now we are not too far away from the deadline, which is in 2030. And we have specific challenges, especially with the situation of COVID-19. So now the question is to all the panelists. How do you intend to take up the existing challenges, which are, first of all, achieving the SDGs, secondly, fighting against the pandemic, the COVID-19, and thirdly, all the existing challenges that the water and sanitation sector have to deal with. So how do you attend in your various capacity to develop the water operator partnership or the sanitation operator partnership in Africa? Dr. Nkube, we always start by the one who has the money in his pocket. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's quite evident that with the approaching deadline for the SDGs, we need to put on the accelerator and be able to do more. But what I think all of us have gotten to realize that central to achieving those objectives is the fact that for us to be able to talk about sustainability, we need to really be talking about building institutions and an enabling environment that will enable us to get to where we are, because there's no point in just putting infrastructure that cannot be maintained, that cannot be managed, and so forth. So institutions become very key, which is where this WOP concept comes in. So if utilities are at the heart of implementing the infrastructure, which is core to our business as a financial development institution, we need to make sure that we work tirelessly with them in chasing our priorities. And yes, our priorities are mostly about infrastructure development. It's about regional integration. It's about skills and technology, among others, and all within an inclusive growth kind of objective. But we're not able to talk regional integration or inclusive growth or any of those things outside partnerships across geographies. I mean, we can't be looking at only one country or one region, but looking across the entire spectrum to be able to do our work properly. So you might not be able to find peer-to-peer learning wording in our strategies and things like that, but it's essentially integral to all the work that we do. So where there is no infrastructure, including in fragile state, we will be there to do our part as a financier and be able to facilitate the process of building and capacitating institutions to be able to sustainably deliver, not just deliver on the service, on the infrastructure, but even on the services, because once you bury the pipes, they need to be maintained, they need to be operated and things like that. So our offering is to really get to be able to look at the entire value chain of the infrastructure, not just bury things, but to go even beyond that. And one of the things that we do quite well is to lean strongly on the knowledge and expertise that we've gained working in all African states, and to be a knowledge broker of sorts, and to at least be able to connect different operators, different countries with our clients across the continent. Because as we work in different countries, we're able to know that so and so is able to do things particularly better and things like that. So our perceptions in terms of WOPs is that we appreciate that utilities are best placed to talk for themselves, are best placed to know what is the challenge for them and how it can be solved and how it can be resolved for them. So the issue again that we want to also help to do where we can is to be able to tell the stories better. I think there's a lot of work that gets to happen, but what we see in the press is more of the negative things. So we need to be able to partner with our partners to share outcomes more strongly and be able to speak louder on those victories and achievements, because there is a good story to tell as we go forward to achieving the SDGs. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Nkube. Thank you very much. I see that you are looking at infrastructure development, service delivery, knowledge sharing, and at the best, tell the story better, not always the bad side of the things. Thank you very, very much. Now let's look at Pire Ezekia from UN Habitat. You are at the heart of what we are talking about. Pire, what is your view on that?
Thank you very much, moderator. You know that the COVID-19 pandemic has really underlined the need for invigorated global action to achieve SDG 6. And UN Habitat and GWOPA have been at the forefront in voicing the need for strengthened water operators partnerships as an instrument not just to fight COVID-19, but also to achieve SDG 6. We all are aware that the COVID-19 pandemic has positioned water, sanitation, and hygiene at the center of this public health emergency response, especially in slums and informal settlements. As we are all aware, most of the slum residents lack water and sanitation facilities. That were the main recommendations of the WHO in curtailing the spread of the pandemic. But positively, the pandemic has also brought to the fore the critical role of water and sanitation operators in providing essential wash services, especially to those that are most marginalized in slums and informal settlements. Ensuring the need for continuity in wash services in slums has been a challenge in a number of cities and towns. And in response, UN Habitat and GWOPA have been advocating for the need for strengthened response by public water and sanitation operators to this pandemic, but also to the need for invigorated actions to achieve SDG 6. So to raise awareness on the critical role of service providers, UN Habitat and GWOPA launched an advocacy campaign on what they call the Utilities Fight COVID-19 initiative. And the idea behind this initiative was for UN Habitat and GWOPA to organize a series of webinars where water and sanitation operators could not just promote peer-to-peer learning, but also exchange experiences on how they are responding to the pandemic. We also have developed a number of policy briefs, especially on the role of water and sanitation operators in responding to the COVID-19 pandemic. So fighting COVID-19 together, are utilities getting the support that they need is one of the policy briefs that we have developed, and it was a subject of one of the sessions at this Congress. Earlier on, at the start of the pandemic, we also partnered with UNICEF to develop a policy brief, a technical note on WASH for COVID-19 in slums and human settlements. And in all these policy briefs, we are really calling for strengthened water operators partnerships as a solution for continuity in service provision, but also for recovery from the pandemic. At the highest levels of the United Nations, UN Habitat and GWOPA have also been at the forefront of voicing the need for strengthening the capacity of water and sanitation service providers. So we have, for example, our executive director has attended this high-level event on accelerating the implementation of the 2030 agenda through water, sanitation, and climate action in May 2020 in New York, where one of the key messages was to promote learning and enhance utility exchange to respond faster to the pandemic, but also to achieve SDG 6. We have also advocated for stronger WOPs at the high-level political forum during the official launch of the SDG 6 Global Acceleration Framework, where UN Habitat Executive Director was calling for a more invigorated WOPs, what they call a move from just-in-time to a just-in-case approach, where we promote scalable and well-founded peer-to-peer exchanges and learnings between water operators. Now, for those who listened to the UN Habitat presentation at the opening of this Congress, We also have done a critical analysis of the UN Secretary General's Our Common Agenda on how water operators partnerships can contribute to the realization of the UN Secretary General's vision. So this is the kind of global advocacy that UN Habitat has undertaken to ensure that we have stronger WAPs, not just to curtail the spread of the pandemic, but also to reinvigorate global actions around the achievement of SDG 6. Thank you.
Definitely. Thank you very much. And what you have been doing at UN Habitat, we have been following the various webinars when you came with the initiative Fight the COVID-19. These webinars were really helpful and very important for the AFWA members. Dr. Simon Kenfat, please, can you give us also a word on the challenge, how you've been going through those challenges for the development of the African WAPs? Please go ahead.
Thank you, Edie. I think the challenge is great. The challenges are great and numerous. We have to achieve the MDGs, the SDGs, please, but we have to face also some threat like the COVID-19 and other that we don't know. But faced to that, and given our mandate, which is to support the capacity buildings of operators in Africa, we have to strategize. And part of the strategies, we should start from the coordination. And I think we use at AFWA to say we work under the mandate of AMCAO, which is the African Minister Council of Water. And I remember the last year, or no, before the COVID, we organized a coordination meeting in Addis Ababa at the UN office, where all most of the organization working in the sector were attended, and everyone, and that is where maybe I think we can share also this approach of working through work. This can be on each of the sector, including the starting from the water safety plan, water integrated water resource management, and wastewater treatment. All these sectors can use the WAP approach, and this could be shared and adopted at such a coordination platform of the operators. Now, we have now faced to our own problem, agreed to split the sub-Saharan Africa into 4 regional implementing partner zone, and but maybe we will need to move forward, and because there are some countries which are, when we talk of regions in Africa, Nigeria, a country like Nigeria itself is bigger than maybe the whole Central Africa region. And with this, maybe we will think to move forward by creating country platforms of work that could use even mentor from outside the country, and support and identify and support the development of mentors at the national level. And I heard from one of the church such question from Julian that come in Uganda, KCC is already acting as a national mentor to support other mentee in Kampala, and that can also work. But more than that, we are thinking we are implementing a knowledge management platform, and all these works we are implementing, we should report case studies and share them on through the web platform, and also organize communities of practice that can work through not physically, but also they can share experience through their several meetings on using such of the web device. Now, the last but not the least is the collaboration, and the collaboration is very necessary, because whatever you do, we want to do, maybe you will need money, and we turn to thank already this collaboration with the Africa Development Bank, which is supporting, and other banks, and through Africa Development Bank, maybe they can call, they can advocate and call for other banks to join the movement, and thank also to what UN Habitat is already doing at the UN level to make the other organization or the other groups like UNICEF who are also working in the water sector to join. Thank you very much, and over.
Thank you, Simon, for your well, quite long response, but good one. Now let's talk with the mentors, with Etikuni and Onea, one after the other. Ms. Zuma, what could you say about going through those challenges that we have been speaking about?
Definitely, Mr. Usha. As previous speakers have said, the challenges are great in our sector if we are to be able to achieve SDG 6 by 2030. And these are including provision of water and sanitation services to the currently unserved, as well as maintaining the current business in order to deliver services to those who are currently served at with minimal operations and giving them a dignified service. And I think one of the major challenges that we also struggle with in the Tegwini as well as other African cities, the high levels of non-revenue water. But I think these challenges can be tackled through innovation. This is something that we've been doing quite well at Etegwini municipality. I'm not saying we're perfect, but it's one of our strong points. So looking at innovation, not only through technology, but also service and business models, as well as lastly, but mostly, most importantly, I think in to as mentors in peer-to-peer learning partnerships, we are open to sharing our experiences and key learnings on any interventions, successful or not, that are implemented within our service area. So this is either through the formal water operators partnership activities such as benchmarking, diagnostic visits, etc., as well as I think it's important that after the formal activities have completed, that relationship between the mentor and mentee cities carries on so that we are able to call upon each other as we experience challenges without having to wait to be in a framework of a WOP or a SOP in order to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lungi Zuma, Miss Lungi Zuma, for your words. Now let's finalize with this question with Fatoumata from ONEA. Fatoumata, vous avez la parole pour cette deuxième question.
Merci. Alors, il est admis que vraiment la COVID a été un facteur bloquant pour vraiment l'atteinte des ODD, mais il n'y a pas que la COVID, il y a la question sécuritaire que certains de nos pays traversent difficilement, qui sont également un frein à l'atteinte de ces objectifs. Alors, ce que nous pouvons dire, pour avoir expérimenté les WOP il y a quand même une dizaine d'années, sinon plus, l'intérêt et l'avantage des partenariats entre opérateurs n'est plus à démontrer. Et si nous avons une proposition ou en tout cas un point de vue à dire là-dessus, c'est de prendre vraiment toutes les dispositions pour renforcer cette démarche de partenariat. Au Burkina, ici, non seulement nous sommes en partenariat avec les opérateurs, mais même d'autres structures qui ne sont pas directement dans la production et distribution d'eau, parce que nous avons mesuré vraiment toute l'importance et tout l'enjeu que nous avons à tirer dans l'expérimentation des partenariats. Donc, nous disons que prendre les dispositions pour renforcer les partenariats est essentiel. Et pour cela, nous invitons les sociétés, et je parle en tant que gestionnaire de partenariat, à mettre vraiment les moyens qu'il faut pour non seulement nouer les partenariats, mais aussi les faire vivre. C'est fondamental. Je ne sais pas ce qui se passe ailleurs, mais ici, oui, il y a un budget voté pour les partenariats, mais nous pensons que si nous mesurons toute l'importance et tout l'intérêt que nous avons à retirer dans l'œuvre des partenariats pour l'atteinte de nos performances, il y a lieu qu'on voit davantage comment nous les renforçons. Que peut-être dans les grands financements, dans les grands projets que nous avons, nous obtenons avec nos partenaires techniques et financiers, que comme de par le passé, on a toujours réservé des lignes, renforcement des capacités par-ci, par-là, que des lignes soient réservées pour la vie des partenariats que nos sociétés auront à nouer. Que de ne pas seulement attendre que cela passe par l'AE, qu'entre sociétés, à 2, à 3, que vraiment nous voyons. Nous voyons souvent, entre deux sociétés, nous avons des projets, mais parce qu'on n'a pas eu de financement, l'Europe n'a pas eu lieu. Donc, je pense personnellement qu'il faudra revoir là-dessus, que les sociétés individuellement essaient de travailler vraiment dans ce sens pour voir comment c'est notre intérêt avant que ça ne soit celui d'autres personnes. C'est ce que nous avons. Alors, un autre point essentiel, c'est le partage des connaissances. L'AE, en ce sens, est déjà en avance et je me réjouis fortement. C'est vraiment de mettre davantage l'accent sur le partage des connaissances. Tout à l'heure, j'ai posé une question à Madame du Cameroun. Ça, ce ne sont pas des sujets dont on parle à tout va, mais le fait de savoir que un aspect culturel a permis d'atteindre des résultats qu'ailleurs, peut-être des millions investis peuvent ne pas permettre de l'avoir. Ça, c'est le partage d'expérience, le partage de connaissances, la communauté des pratiques qui permet de saisir ces éléments qui ne sont pas très, je ne sais pas, qui ne sont pas très documentés et qui permettent pourtant d'atteindre des résultats appréciables. Voilà ce que j'avais à partager, en tout cas, si nous devons utiliser les WOP comme un facteur d'atteinte des objectifs. Merci.
Merci, Madame Fatoumata Sarambe. Thank you, Madame Sarambe. I think that you've said a word very important, interesting, that would be directed to Dr. Nkuba. It could be interesting to put in some budget and some budget line in the projects that you are funding around Africa aligned for partnerships. And that is a request from Madame Fatoumata, and I think that is a very interesting request. Okay, I think time is up, but we have one more question, and I would like that question to be answered very, very shortly by all the panelists. And the idea is to know a bit, how do you plan to collaborate and with which actor to significantly increase the number of WOPs in Africa and boosting access to water and sanitation under the SDGs? So a quick answer, just 2-3 words. Dr. Nkube, please go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I think a quick answer would be for us, other than the work of financing infrastructure, we are committed to the mutual design and implementation of programs with our respective partners and the countries that we work with. So if there's anything that we can jointly build up together to be able to do more as a collective, we'll be happy to do that. And we're also keen to share experiences and even the tools that are being developed by our respective partners in all the work that we do. So we think we can be able to do all that kind of work. And yes, in terms of the request that has been said, we work with countries. We prioritize the priorities of our country partners. And whatever they need to do, we are there to help them achieve those objectives. So it's all possible, and we look forward to collaborating more and doing more to get water to everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you. Mr. Pire, please, Ezekiel from UN Habitat, can say a word on that.
Thank you very much. And in UN Habitat and GWOPA, we recognize the need to increase partnerships around WOPs in Africa. In fact, we are pushing for a new business model for WOPs, because this is required for water and sanitation operators to respond to the challenges affecting the continent. One that recognizes the need to have more sanitation-focused WOPs is one of the things that we are pushing. And as I mentioned, we are in partnership with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and with regional partners such as AFWA to promote sanitation-focused water operators partnerships. If you look around, a significant number of WOPs are currently focused on water, and sanitation has been left behind. So how do we promote sanitation-focused WOPs? The other thing is to also make WOPs an instrument that can contribute to even bigger challenges affecting the continent. So how, for example, can WOPs respond to climate resilience and issues of sustainable urbanization? That means we have been a sector that talks to itself. How do we engage climate change experts and practitioners, urban development experts and departments in governments that are all working towards these huge challenges affecting the continent when it comes to water and sanitation, thinking outside the box to partner with non-traditional partners, such as the ministries responsible for urban development and ministries responsible for climate change, is something that we also need to focus on. The other one is monitoring the impact of WOPs. How do we, for example, move away from counting the number of partnerships that we have established to actually look at the numbers of people that we have reached with services? Is a very critical way of looking at the future of WOPs in Africa. And also to make WOPs part of a bigger continental strategy for achieving all the other continental partnerships around the vision for water in Africa and bigger challenges of water and sanitation in Africa. Water and sanitation operators partnerships must be used as an instrument to provide solutions to the bigger issues on the continent. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Very, very much. Dr. Simon, please go ahead. Quick. Simon, are you on board?
Yes, thank you. So a quick one, how to partner, with who to collaborate. I will insist on this one. We will, a part of the traditional collaborators that we are already engaged today, we appreciate the collaboration of UN Habitat and through GWOPA. They started mobilizing funds at their own level and attributing this work in Africa for us to facilitate more work. This work should continue. And the Africa Development Bank and other donors, because whatever we do, it's a matter of funding, and we will appreciate continuing specifying the collaboration with all these donors. AMCAO, for whom we are working, is our leader in the sector in Africa for advocacy, and we will appreciate continue working. And there are other NGOs and organizations supporting the sector, even either at the national or at the local level. We will appreciate water aid plan and other NGOs adopting the WAP approach, which is sustainable, and the Association of Mayors, which are the local governments, we will appreciate working with them towards supporting, adopting, and adopting the WAP approach for more WAPs in Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Fkenfak. Ms. Lungi Zuma, please, can you tell us a few words on how boosting the access to water and sanitation under the SDGs now?
So as a unit, we are committed to participating in the WAPs and the SOPs initiatives in Africa through our membership with AFWA, as well as being the regional implementing partner for the Southern African region. We plan on continued collaboration and support where we can to our existing and new mentee cities. Thank you very much.
Microphone. Sylvain, your microphone, please.
Madame Sarambe, vous pouvez clôturer les questions, s'il vous plaît.
Merci beaucoup. En tant que société d'eau, nous sommes les premiers consommateurs des WOP. Et vu ainsi, je dirais que nous sommes disponibles et je me réjouis du fait que des structures internationales comme l'UN Habitat s'ouvrent et sont toujours disponibles pour accompagner les WOP. Mais en tant que membre de l'Association africaine de l'eau, je dis que nous attendons beaucoup. Et en tout cas, en termes de partenariat, nous allons travailler à renforcer cette confiance qui a été placée à l'honneur pour en tout cas voir toutes les possibilités qui s'offrent à nos sociétés en termes de mise en relation, alors que ce soit à travers l'AE ou de société à société, nous travaillerons en tout cas à renforcer ces liens-là dont les bénéfices ne sont plus à démontrer. Je vous remercie.
Merci, Madame. Thank you. Thank you very much for all the panelists for responding, for participating in this session. We've heard a lot of very, very interesting things. Hopefully a report on that session will definitely be shared. And because of time, I will hand the words to our chair, Prof. Kassan Amans, for the final words. Please go ahead.
Thank you very much, Sylvain. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have had 3 presenters. Really, we are honored for your preparation in putting the presentations together and sharing with us case studies on the WAPs that are being implemented in Africa in order to improve water and sanitation. To our 5 expert panelists, thank you indeed for your support. The African Development Bank, the UN Habitat, GWAPA in Nairobi, in the continent, our partners, our donors, the African Water Association, who is the facilitator of the GWAPA program in the African continent. Thanks for your great contributions, for sharing with us the delightful work that we're doing and the commitment we have towards this program to change the landscape of water and sanitation for our people in the continent. To the 2 moderators, Dr. Rose Kahwa and Sylvain Usher, thank you indeed for making yourself available and ensuring that the moderation was done on a professional basis. We really appreciate that. To all of the participants, thank you indeed for attending, especially those that raised questions. We really appreciate your questions and your comments. And finally, to the GWAPA for providing us the opportunity to have this session, and to all the backroom support that we receive to make this a successful event. I wish you all goodbye, and I thank you, and I trust you will enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.
What? Already over?
No, we have plenty more options to continue the discussions and peer exchange beyond the Congress.
Tell me more. What are the options?
Well, GWAPA membership, for example. By becoming a member of GWAPA, everyone can connect to a global alliance of practitioners and experts. There are 2 ways of becoming a member. First, institutional members. Institutions can participate in GWAPA's assemblies and are eligible to run and vote in its international steering committee elections. Or second, individual members. Individuals can connect and engage with peers in the online GWAPA community. We have created a space that allows for networking and easy communication. Meet future WAPA partners, stay up to date on project opportunities, and participate in peer-to-peer learning opportunities.
Sounds great. How can I join?
Simply go to www.gwapa.org and register for free. If you want to know more, you can follow GWAPA on social media and subscribe to the newsletter. Thanks for joining the 4th Global WAPs Congress. We'll see you soon.